Hello friends, welcome back. As we have discussed in our pilot launching platform, we will addressing all the queries, all the provisions which create hardship in day-to-day activities of all these SEs. Now, there is one section 43B of the Income Tax Act 1961. This section we all are familiar with, as we are having a turnover of 1 crores and above, and we are liable to tax audit. In many cases, the auditors have asked the SSEs about some statutory payments which they are required to make, and deduction of which is allowed on payment basis. This section has been introduced in 1984, and since then many of us are fully aware of the provisions of this section. There are certain clauses ranging from subclause A to subclause H. Why we are discussing this section is because of the one fact that section 43B subclause H, which was introduced by the Finance Act 2023, and according to us it will be creating a huge problem for the SSEs in finalizing their income tax return or audit in coming year.
Hey, my friend, I have a query.
Yeah.
As we discussed that subsection H has been introduced, I have this question: for which financial year is it applicable?
Yes, that's a very good query. That is why we are discussing on this subject. This is applicable for the financial year 23-24, assessment year 24-25, the due date of which is 30th September or 31st July, varies from person to person. So, going forward, section 43B subclause H is in relation to the payment to the MSME enterprises. Going forward, first I want to just highlight the clauses, sub-clauses of 43B, A to G. A is related to the payment of tax, duty or cess. That means that if you have not paid your GST or your EF, PF, ESI, in that case you will be liable to pay the income tax on the amount which you have not paid, because this section specifically states that there are certain deductions which will be allowed on actual payment basis, irrespective of the method of accounting you are following. Subclause C is related to the bonus commission paid to the employees in lieu of profit, and section D, DA and E is related to the interest payment on the borrowings we have made, either from the public financial institutions or from the banks or the state financial corporations. Subclause F deals with the leave encashment to the employees that also need to be paid before the due date of filing the return. And subclause G is also newly introduced, which states any sum payable by the SSE to the Indian Railways for the use of railway assets. All these payments ranging from subclause A to G need to be paid on or before the due date of filing the ITR. But subclause H, which will create hassle in years to come if there is no amendment made by the government in near future, is any sum payable by the SSE to a MSME enterprises, especially micro or small enterprises.
If I interject here for a minute, it is pertinent to note that it is only for micro or small enterprises.
Yes. Now, why we are discussing this section, I am again repeating, because if you can see the slide, subclause A to G, there is a provision where you can make the payment before the filing of your return, due date of your return, which means suppose you have not made the payment till 31st 24 for the financial year 23-24, then you still have the time to make all the payments referred to in subclauses above before the due date of filing the return, that may be 31st July or 30th September. But for subclause H, there is no such provision. Very specifically the section states except the provision of clause H. So it means for clause H, you have to make a payment of the invoices by the end of the provisions stated in section 15 of the micro, small and medium enterprises. We will discuss it in another slide. Now, first we need to understand what is micro and what is small. If you can highlight on this subject.
Yes, micro enterprise means the enterprise in which plant and machinery equipment are not more than 1 crore and annual turnover is not more than 5 crores. So if if I may decode the language for you, where the plant and machinery equipment are less than 1 crore and annual turnover are less than 5 crore, then it is a micro enterprise. In case of small enterprises, where the plant and machinery is less than 10 crores and annual turnover is less than 50 crores, then it is a small enterprise.
Yeah, going forward, we have understood the concept of micro and small enterprises. Also, we have discussed the fact that why it is important to have this discussion on mind, because financial year 23-24 is coming to an end. We are almost at the end of January. So, if there are any invoices you have procured or any services you have procured from the customer, from your supplier, in that case, you have to make a payment to the supplier within maximum duration of 45 days. And in case you don't make such payment, your income tax payment will be added on the amount of outstanding invoices after 45 days.
Yes, in case the agreement is made, then you have to make the payment within 30 days. Suppose, for example, suppose you make an agreement that after you procure the goods, you will make the payment within 30 days of issuance of invoice. Then you have to make the payment within 30 days. If you exceed the time limit, maximum time limit of 45 days and make an agreement that you will pay your supplier within 90 days, then your agreement has no value because you still have to make the payment within 45 days. In case where no agreement is made, then as per the provision 15 of MSME Act, you have to make the payment before the appointment date, which is 15 days of issuance of invoice.
So the question arises, how I will able to ascertain whether the concern is a micro or a small enterprise? Because I don't think in today's scenario everybody is mentioning in their invoice whether it is a micro or small enterprise. They are mentioning the GST number and the address and everything, but they are not mentioning anything about micro or small. So according to you, what precautions the SSC should take to ensure whether the enterprise is micro or small?
So for that, in my view, my friend, what should be done is that you should write an email to your supplier asking whether he is registered under the MSME Act or not. If he reverts, then well and good. You have to take the precautions. If he doesn't, you have to assume that he is not registered. Otherwise, what other option do you have?
So that means our working papers should be very much specific in this regard. We have mailed, we have raised the queries from so and so people, we have marked the emails, but we got the response or we did not got the response. So in that case, we have to be very precautionary measures has to be taken by us so that we can take a list of the clients to whom you have marked the mail, whether you got the response or not, and whether that enterprise is micro or small, or whether no response has been given. In that case, we will assume that they are not registered. So dear friends, why again we are highlighting this fact, why we are discussing provision? Because this is a very draconian provision. This will lead to lots of litigation in coming years to come, because businesses and varies from person to person, credit terms varies from person to person. So how can the government expect anybody to make a payment to the vendors when they are not able to collect it from their suppliers? So we have put it as an illustration in this as well. Suppose the amount has been payable to the creditor which is due for more than 45 days. Let's say the amount is 15 lakh rupees and you have a normal profit of 10 lakh rupees during the financial year. So in normal cases, we are paying the tax on 10 lakh rupees, but due to this introduction of the provision, the auditor will report that this amount has still been unpaid of 15 lakh rupees and your income tax will be liable on the amount of 25 lakh rupees. So we hope you have understood the law and you will take the necessary action, because only 2 months have been left in this financial year, and you will make the payments and make the possible remedies to overcome this hardship of this section, and you will take care of all the precautions, all the provisions. Thanks.